Back at it again. It's another edition of the Infectious Scouting Podcast. I'm your host, all right, seeing a place to be. Buckle up, baby. It's a double chin strap kind of day. Of course, I'm joined by Russell Lande and Ryan Roberts today in the mix. We got Dakota Follett working our switchboard. We're getting geared up for our balls to the wall draft coverage all week long, starting Monday, April 20th, taking you throughout the draft week, through the draft, after the draft with our recap show on Sunday. It's really going to be exciting. We're going to have these guys along for the ride. And, let's start off with you, Russell. I was told by the wife and Mom Dukes to calm down. What are you doing? Why are you shaving your face with the book? What are you doing going crazy? But I got to say, my friend, it's my home, my time of year. And I don't mean just the Jersey Shore. I'm talking about NFL Draft Week. The draft process flows through the Draft Bible veins. Trainers, coaches, scouts, schools, all-star games. Everything runs through the NFL Draft Bible. And if you don't know that, I'm telling you that. Make sure you get your copy. The books are sold out. You can still go online, PDF format. NFL.
So here's my question. Do we even need coffee anymore? Just listen to Rick go, and that just revs you up for the whole day. I don't even need coffee. I don't need nothing. I just got to hear Rick yapping 5 minutes, and I'm ready to rock. I'm ready to go lift buildings.
I've got the Bible. I'm going to swear on it. Ryan, how you doing today there in New Jersey? Russ is in Chicago with the snow. I hope you're doing better with the weather where you're at.
Yeah, man. No snow over here, which is good, obviously. And, we're 8 days away now. So it's in the final stretch. Exciting. Man. Like Russ said, it's not it doesn't feel quite as real as it usually does. But, in this household, it does. Grinding this film for these months, working together, I'm ready to go right now.
And Ryan Roberts is at Rise and Draft. Russell Lande is at Russ Lande. Of course, we're at NFL Draft Bible. Check out our guy, Dakota Follett, at Dak Follett, doing all our NFL team needs. We've got the team needs tracker up there, breaking it down with the updated depth charts, post-free agent frenzy, how much money is allocated at each position, and what the team needs are. But before we get into our little prop bet scenario today, we're going to talk a little bit about the draft. But, Russ, 1 week after the NFL draft is going to be the CFL draft. You guys are in intense preparation, and this whole Zoom technology now seems to be trickling into the scouting community.
It does. I mean, we're knee deep. We finished the offense. We're on to the defense, and it's just been a great experience. I mean, I think everybody was a little wary. I think both NFL and CFL do meetings via sort of video conferencing where you're not right there with everybody, but tell you one thing, once you get a system down, and as long as your IT guys, and for us, Ross, who's sort of our video IT guy, he has it down to a science, and it's been smooth sailing, shockingly easy. And I got to say, I know for you, Rick, once that book is handed off to the publisher, that's when life becomes enjoyable with the draft coverage. It's like, all right, the book is done. Now all I have to do is talk about the draft. I don't.
And my family likes me again now.
Yeah, exactly. For another month, and then once you start on next year's, then they can start hating you again.
Well, it's funny, Samantha was doing some of the editing for us, and she got done doing the book editing, and she's like, "Okay, now I get why you're in such an intense mood all the time." All right. But yeah, we did our biggest, baddest book yet, and shout out to everybody on the monitors. I mean, everybody did a really great job, and Ryan Roberts stepped up, did a lot of our scouting reports in here, 622 scouting reports. We couldn't do that without Ryan's help. That's more scouting reports than we've ever done in any book. 175 interviews, and then we have all the measurables, the combine data, the official combine measurements, the pro day workouts that happened. Dakota did a great job getting every pro day workout that did transpire into the book. So we've got you covered. If you want a publication that's from a scout perspective, that's what we do. All right, guys, I figured we'd have some fun here. I'm going to get it right, 8 days away from the 2020 NFL Draft, virtuoso style, coming into your living room just like this. And I figured I'd have a lot of fun with some of the prop scenarios that are floating around out there, and which quarterback will be first, over, under, what pick they'll be taking, how many positions in the first round, and things of that nature. And it's just kind of a football freestyle type of thing. So I just plucked some things that I thought were interesting. And since we're broadcasting here in New Jersey, we'll start off with my hometown New York Giants. We've kind of debated this off the air. I have a feeling I know where Russ is going to go, so we'll start with Ryan in New Jersey. New York Giants first-round pick, Ryan. The favorite, surprisingly, is Isaiah Simmons, who is, at plus 140, and then we all assume offensive lineman, so Wirfs is the favorite of the offensive tackles to be the first tackle off the board. He's at plus 225, and then Mekhi Becton is at plus 650. So what they're telling us, Ryan, here is based on the odds. Isaiah Simmons is the likely selection for the Giants, but if they do go off with offensive tackle, it would be Tristan Wirfs. Where do you see the Giants going?
So, when we're talking Dave Gettleman, he's traditionally a build through the trenches guy. He loves his hog mollies, quote unquote. So if, for this bet scenario, I think I would actually steer clear of Isaiah Simmons, even though he's the favorite. I get the appeal. If I was making the pick, that probably would be my pick personally. But knowing how Dave Gettleman's track record has kind of foregone over the years, what he seems to value in the draft, I would actually, if I had to make a bet here, I would probably pick that he would take Mekhi Becton, which is a little off the radar, but he just kind of seems like a Dave Gettleman kind of guy. The Wirfs appeal, I like Jedrick Wills a whole bunch. Mekhi Becton's my fourth ranked of the big four offensive tackles. But for whatever reason, I feel like Mekhi Becton is just a Dave Gettleman kind of guy.
And I kind of agree with you. I think Becton fits the Gettleman mold a little bit more. And at plus 650, that's a pretty good odds that you're getting on Becton. Now, Russ, my question is the appeal of Simmons, who a lot of people feel, myself included, is a blue chip type of talent. And I'm not saying the offensive tackles are not. But what I am saying is at 36, the Giants could have a Josh Jones. They could have the Austin Jackson, Ezra Cleveland maybe of Boise State. We're hearing now the buzz, Isaiah Wilson, the other Georgia tackle might go in round one. One of these guys is likely to be available for the Giants there at the top of the second round. As you know, it's been a turnstile at each end here over several years, so they do have to plug it. Will they do it in round one? Will they do it in round two? Where are the Giants going?
I tend to think it's going to be one of three spots. I think when you look at Dave, and I think truthfully, when you look at most of the teams that are winning, whether it's Philadelphia or the Patriots, the media perception tends to talk about it's all about passing. It may be, but most of those teams are built on the trenches, O-line and D-line. You can't win without being strong there. Dave has always been an O-line, D-line corner guy. When you look at his drafts down in Carolina, he went physical guys. He took a lot of D-linemen and a lot of corners high. I would say, to me, I think Becton, the size is sort of an option, but I also think that Wirfs, because the Iowa connection, Kirk Ferentz is an old school football coach. This kid comes with that sort of old school mentality, even though he's not as big as Becton. I think either one of them makes sense. And how about throwing in, I think there's a chance of a guy like Derek Brown. I really do think he may look at it and say, yep, we have Leonard Williams. We have all this money tied up in giving him the franchise tag, but he's not proven it yet. He's been an inconsistent guy throughout his career. We can get potentially the best penetrating defensive tackle in the draft, upgrade us. Remember, he took – how many defensive linemen did he take in round one in like a 4-year period? He took 3 straight guys with Lutalele, and I can't remember the names of the other two, but he is a big believer in O-line, D-line. Don't be shocked if it's a Derek Brown or even if it's the Kinlaw kid from South Carolina. This guy likes linemen, which I'm a big believer in. You win on the O-line and D-line. I think that's the direction he's going to go, O-line or D-line.
And some of you out there listening might be surprised to hear Kinlaw, but I got news for you. I've spoken to several scouts in the league that value Kinlaw over Derek Brown. So
I got told he's going to be gone by 8.
There you go. Russell Lande, Ryan Roberts, Rick Serritella here on the Infectious Scouting Podcast. Our guy Dakota Follett helping us out here, getting ready for next week's draft coverage all week long. Make sure you follow us at NFL Draft Bible for the links, and we're excited for all of our special guests. It's going to be just as good of a broadcast as the NFL Network and ESPN. That's my word. First running back drafted, fellas. This is an interesting debate. I saw an article out there floating around this morning where and this is, Vegas speaking, but they're projecting 0 running backs selected in the first round. Somewhat of a surprise. Now, they do have DeAndre Swift heavily favored to be the first running back off the board, followed by Jonathan Taylor. J.K. Dobbins is third, and then the rest is just the field. So I thought it was surprising. At plus 2,500, you can get Clyde Edwards-Helaire, $100 to win 2,500. Wow, that's pretty good odds. But Russ, they're saying that DeAndre Swift is going to be the first running back off the board. Can it be Taylor? Can it be Dobbins? Can it be someone else? Or is it Swift? And do you agree, no running backs in round one?
No, I think there'll be one. I think there's almost always, especially if you're talking about a team in the bottom 7 or 8 picks that likes Taylor or likes Swift and thinks that really they are probably a second-round pick, but they know he's not going to be there at 60 or 55, and they don't have a clear guy over him. I think that's where you may see 1 or 2 backs go. I personally like Taylor the most. But I could see Swift. I can understand it because in today's NFL, the ability to catch, as Christian McCaffrey showed yesterday with that giant contract they got, if you can't catch, you're not much of a value as a running back. So I could see a team saying, yeah, Swift's probably not as good when we hand the ball to him as Taylor is. But in terms of catching the ball out of the backfield, he may be a more versatile guy. Not that he has better hands, but he's the guy that really can be a slot receiver in certain alignments, do more things than Taylor, who may be just, and I don't mean just, but he's more of a running back who's going to be very effective catching balls out of the backfield. I don't know if you're going to bump him out and put him in the slot as opposed to using him as a receiver out of the backfield. So I could see Swift going. I think Taylor's going to be a really good player in the NFL. I'd have no hesitation with him being the first back taken. But you know me, I don't believe in running backs in the first round. Never have, never will. It isn't a knock on the position. Just there's so much value you can get at other positions, and I can find good running backs in the 3rd, 4th round.
I agree wholeheartedly, and I think Jonathan Taylor is an all-pro running back in the making who, wouldn't shock me if he's leading the league in rushing. With that being said, DeAndre Swift, I keep thinking Kansas City Chiefs, Ryan. I know you're a big fan of Swift, and to me it's just like, hey, when you're the defending champions, you can have that luxury. You don't have many weaknesses. I just feel like Swift kind of fits the mold of what Russ was just describing. I'm assuming since the last time we spoke, it hasn't changed for you that Swift is your number 1 guy. Do you see him going in the first round? And if it isn't Swift, who do you like number 2, Ryan?
So, obviously, I am a big Swift fan, RB1. I love that fit with Kansas City in the back end of the first round. For this situation, though, I think that the NFL is going to value Jonathan Taylor a little more. So I actually would say I agree with Russ, 1 running back in the first round. I think Jonathan Taylor, with the combination of 226, 4.39 speed, the production he had, I feel like they're going to value him very heavy. So for this situation, for this betting situation, I would take Jonathan Taylor to be the first running back off the board, and then my RB1, DeAndre Swift, following him somewhere in the early second.
All right, pretty good odds, too. You can get on Taylor at plus 190, Swift at minus 225. So I thought it was a little bit surprising, just the separation there between the 2 odds-on favorites. Let's take a look at wide receivers, because on our wide receiver preview show, Russell did not have Jerry Jeudy in his first round. And here they have Jerry Jeudy.
He was the top guy.
Yes, he is the top guy. Which has changed because just a week ago, CeeDee Lamb was the odds favorite. So that means the wagering has shifted Jeudy to now be the favorite, followed by Ruggs at number 3. So Judy's plus 120, Lamb is plus 150, Ruggs plus 225, and then it drops off. If you think it's going to be someone else other than those 3 guys, $100 gets you back 3,300. So they're saying there's no way outside of Jeudy, Lamb, and Ruggs that there's going to be other receivers selected number 1 off the board, Russ. Would you agree?
So, I would agree. Now, here's the thing I'll tell you, though. Here's how you have to wonder. So Jeudy all of a sudden moves up, and he's the highest ranked in terms of potential to go first round. A lot of talk about the Raiders taking a receiver. Raiders going to Vegas. Vegas sets the line. If Jeudy ends up being the first receiver, do you start wondering if there might be a leak in that Raiders scouting department? I mean, seriously, you got to start thinking, what's going on here? How does that all of a sudden change in 1 week's time without them getting some information. Now, it may not be the Raiders, but they're getting information from somebody to have it change like that. I understand, Judy. Trust me, I get it. You take his best clips, there's something about the guy. But I just, as a well-rounded, to me, Ruggs, that's the guy that just jumps out. He reminds me so much of Tyreek Hill. I just think guys like that, they're just too hard to find. Receivers, though, to me, the bust rate to me is so high because so much of it is based on 40 time and vertical time, where a guy like Shenault is getting sort of overlooked and sort of not even considered as an elite guy because he's not a 4.4 guy. When I think if you look around the NFL and you see a lot of the better receivers are not the guys that run in the 4.4s. They're the guys like Keenan Allen, who are just truly special, dynamic football players, but they run in the 4.6s. So I'm interested to see. Judy, I think, has a good chance of being first receiver taken, but I really think Ruggs will be the guy.
All right, well, Ruggs is pretty good odds. And, listening to you talk, it reminds me, again, Ruggs plus 225. I was doing a Colts.com spot the other day, and we were talking about what they could do at 34. And I was thinking about a guy like Laviska Shenault could slide all the way down to 34 for the Colts. And this is the 1 year I actually feel better about taking a guy who is injured, because my confidence right now, as Russ can tell you in the CFL, I have little confidence that the season is going to start on time. So, with this delay of the start of the season, give me an injured guy, Darrell Taylor from Tennessee with the fracture or whatever. I like taking him now in round 2 or round 3, as if, if I just
think about it this way. No off-season program, right? Rookies usually struggle. How much more do you think they're going to struggle this year? It's going to be brutal. Most rookies are not going to contribute. So why not take a guy that if he were healthy might have been a top 10 or top 12 pick? You can get him at 30 or 28. And especially a guy like Chris Ballard, who I think is by far and away the best GM in the league. Yes, I mean, obviously they're not dumb. They use analytics. They're very into making sure they don't make mistakes. But I can promise you film plays a big part in their evaluation. And his film is about as good as you get in these receivers. He may not be the most explosive, and the injury is a concern. But in terms of film and dominance, there's a lot of things to like. And if you look at their drafts, they place a lot of value on on-field production.
No, it'll be interesting. I like what they've been doing there since Ballard's been around. Ryan, Judy, Lamb, Ruggs, or other first receiver. And Russ makes a good point, because I think that the Raiders are where the first receiver comes off the board. Would you agree? I think they're at number 12, right around there. I could see that being, the Jets at 11 are also in the mix for a receiver, but I have to feel like that their need for offensive line. I had Judy going to the Jets in my mock in the book, but then, something tells me they might go offensive tackle. But 11, 12, Jets, Raiders, is that where you see the first receiver off the board? And is that where are you going with that?
Yeah, that I think that's a pretty safe little window right there is Jets, then Raiders right there. For the options we have, I actually am kind of leaning towards Henry Ruggs III with that first wide receiver taken. I'm a Jerry Jeudy guy with the wide receiver 1 label. I like Lamb actually as wide receiver 2. So it's a very close conversation between those 3. I think they're all dynamic in their own right. I think the difference is, obviously we know speed sells at the next level. Henry Ruggs had every bit of that. And then the uncommon things for a speed receiver. He's got huge hands. He wins through contact. He's not just your strictly vertical threat. You can kind of see him affect the game in multiple areas. I feel like he is going to sell himself huge to a team that is in need of a guy that can affect the field on all 3 levels, not just as a deep threat. He can affect the intermediate, the short. He could take something, create explosive plays on short passes. I feel like that is the guy here, and the odds, I like the odds too a little bit. He's a little down the list, but I think that Henry Ruggs is going to ultimately be the first receiver off the board.
Yeah, I think those are some really favorable odds, and if that's the play, it's a pretty good one. The next one, I'm going to do something a little bit different, because I have the odds on who the 3rd overall pick is going to be? And Ryan, I'll start with you. This doesn't necessarily mean that the Detroit Lions are going to take the pick. It's just what player is going to be selected number 3. So it could be the Lions. They could trade down. There could be someone moving up for a quarterback. When it's all said and done, Ryan, who is going to be the player that hears his name called in that 3rd slot?
I think it's going to be a quarterback. Now, the question is, who is it? Tua? There's so many rumblings now, and I know we get these, smoke screens, and we get all this talk right leading up to draft day. I'm still sticking that it's Tua for now. So I'm saying Tua goes off with the 3rd pick. Chase Young is the 2nd pick. Washington stays packed where they are, and I think that Detroit ultimately trades back. And whether that is Miami moving up, whether that's the Chargers moving up, that Tua is the number 3 pick.
And, I actually see it the other way. I think if there's anybody who's going to do an Aaron Green or Aaron Rodgers or Brady Quinn slip and slide come draft day, I think it is going to be Tua, just based on his terrible interviews at the Combine, these new 2 wrist surgeries, and whether somebody planted that information with Michael Lombardi on purpose or not. The fact that he had 2 additional surgeries on his wrist that we didn't even know about, that teams just found out about at the Combine, in addition to the ankles, in addition to the hip. I'm starting to think Tua could slide all the way down to the back end of the 1st round. He might even be there for the Patriots. People will go nuts if that happens. With that being said, Russ, could it be Tua, or where do you see number 3?
Well, firstly, a lot's going to depend on Detroit. If Detroit stays there, there's no way they can take Tua, because their whole entire football operations group is basically on the fight to keep their jobs. So you can't take a rookie quarterback who's going to get no prep time in the offseason, who's an injury risk. That's going to destroy you. Secondly, I don't think Tua goes in the 1st round and I'm not saying he won't go in the 1st round, but to any team where there's any type of questions about job security. Because you can't take a quarterback with that type of injury history in the 1st round if you have any type of concern about getting let go. Because the risk factor, and we all know this, analytics has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and all that is done in terms of injuries is hammer the point home of, if a guy's hurt in college, he's going to be hurt in the NFL. Every analytics number solidifies that. No team that has any real concern over being fired is going to take this kid in the 1st round. And also, if you're going to take this kid, and what if you have a veteran guy that you plan on starting who's right-handed, and you're going to bring this kid in, he's not going to have an offseason for you, so he's going to have to be your 3rd quarterback this year. That's a lot to me. I think this kid's going to go somewhere where you have a coach that knows he's not getting fired, who's not afraid to take a guy and let him sit for a year or 2. To me, I think the Colts later in the 1st round would be a great spot for him. Go sit, be the 3rd guy, especially because after this year, Brissett's going to be gone. To me, this kid's a perfect fit there. I don't know if they would do that because medically, I don't know if they'd roll the dice on this kid. But I don't think he's going there. I think 3rd pick is Okudah. I really think, unless Chase Young somehow doesn't end up 2nd, it's going to be Okudah. He's the best corner in the draft. He's a freak talent, and you just don't come across guys like that very often. So at 3, to me, he's an easy pick, especially for Detroit, where they're desperate to find some talent, because that is a team without much talent.
And I'm going to follow up on your Okudah point. I'm looking at the draft order as you're talking about teams that could afford with the job security. I would say, hey, New England at 23 and New Orleans at 24 are 2 teams. I don't know if he goes down that far, but what about Las Vegas on the 2nd go-around if he slides to 19? John Gruden's not going anywhere. And, I'll throw Dallas as a dark horse there at 17. Dak Prescott, his situation is unresolved. I could see Jerry Jones making that kind of splash. But back to your point on Okudah, he is the favorite at plus 110, I think it is here. So if Detroit stays there, it's hard to imagine it's not Okudah. Tua is the next odds-on favorite, plus 200, so that would probably be a trade projection. And then Isaiah Simmons is plus 650, Chase Young plus 700. He has no chance of sliding down to 3. If you want to play the field, which would include Justin Herbert, he's at plus 800. And then Derek Brown at plus 2,500. worth a roll of the dice, maybe.
I mean, I didn't know that there were that many players named Field in this draft. It had me a little concerned. I mean, geez, have I not been scouting the right guys?
Yeah, Justin Fields isn't until next year potentially. So,
yeah, and the question is he actually going to be a guy that gets drafted in the first 2 days?
Whoa. Throwing grenades out there.
Right. Hey, how many people said Matt Barkley was a first-round pick, right? I mean, a year before, no one knows because no one's watched the film.
It's true. The North Dakota State quarterback's a guy we're keeping an eye on 2 years from now, too. That's a guy I'm excited about, as I know you are, Ryan, about our next guy we're going to talk about, who is Jordan Love. You've got mad love for Jordan. And his over-under right now is at 19.5. And the odds are right now that he's going to be lower end of the first round. They're saying that actually they favor him to be under 19.5. So under 19.5 is minus 105. Over 19.5 is minus 135. I believe that all of the big four quarterbacks will be off the board within the top 12 picks. Ryan, to me, I think this is a pretty easy one. Jordan Love, 19.5. I'm taking under all day.
Yep, I would agree 100%. I feel like he is definitely going to be picked before 19. I think that when I looked at this list of bets, I felt like that was the safest one for me. Honestly, I'm looking at that and I'm just like, there's no way, especially if Tua starts falling. Someone's going to move up to grab Jordan Love then. They're going to take the opportunity there. They're going to take the chance. I feel like that was the safest bet on this little sheet that we have going here.
Russ, agree or disagree?
He may well go there. I don't get it. I mean, like I said, I haven't studied. I've watched games when I've seen them on TV, and I just don't see a guy that I can count on being accurate consistently. I really think, how does he go ahead of Fromm? That one I don't get. I don't get that at all. To me, that's a stunning thing to take an athlete over a passer. I don't get it. If I were to bet, I'd bet the over. I just think that when it comes down to it, I think a number of teams are going to say he just doesn't fit what we're going to want to do. He's not a pocket passer. I'm just not sold on him, and the hype about people comparing him to Mahomes, I think, is outrageous. Mahomes is a once-in-a-generation type guy. We're not going to see a guy come along like him very often.
No, I agree, and I see Love being linked to the Raiders a lot. I just don't think he would be able to pick up that terminology and be able to run Gruden's offense. I just don't see it being a good fit. Let's go to Justin Herbert, and Russ, I'll go over to you first. Over under 5.5. So will he be in the top 5? Vegas says he won't. They're saying it's going to be over 5.5. Over minus 150, under plus 110. Obviously, at number 5, you have the Dolphins. So at 6, you have the Chargers. So will Herbert go before or after that number 5 pick?
Ooh, that's a great question. I mean, I think a lot of it really comes down to Miami there and their confidence. What do they feel? Where are they in terms of this kid's mental makeup? And I have no questions in terms of leadership or being a good kid. It's just they're going to have to feel very comfortable. This is the guy. I don't know. I tend to think no. I really think there's going to be a surprising drop in quarterbacks on draft day. And that being said, I'm not on the phone talking to every team like most years because I'm so knee-deep in the CFL Draft. I haven't been buzzing around like you have, talking to everybody the last 2 or 3 weeks. But I just don't see him going there. I think he's going to be a guy that goes between, say, 7 and 12.
Well, on devil's advocate side of things, Ryan, I'm saying, hey, Ryan Fitzpatrick's not the answer, right? So I'm saying, hey, Miami's got to take a quarterback in round 1. Why not go and get your guy at 5? Now, I think this question really depends on how Detroit plays out at 3 because if Tua slides, well, then Herbert slides maybe. If someone trades up for Tua at 3, like you just explained, Ryan, well, then I think, hey, Herbert has a really good chance of going at number 5. So your thoughts?
Yeah, so for that bet that we talked about, I feel like if it isn't Tua at 3, so I'm under the absolute belief here that the Chargers are going to trade up in front of Miami to take whatever quarterback they deem their guy. So if that's Tua, we'll see if that's true. If not, they might take Herbert at 3. It might be the option. If not, if they go up there and take Tua, I think Miami at number 5 is going to take Herbert. So I think he is going to be picked at worst at the 5th overall selection.
Yeah, I'm going to go under here because I think that of the top 5 picks, 3 of them are going to be quarterbacks. I think that quarterback is valuable of a position. I think Detroit's going to be looking to trade down. Miami, I think they're locked and loaded, whether it's Tua or Herbert. I think they're pulling the trigger on a quarterback, and I think you got the Chargers there at 6, like Ryan said, thirsty to move up. I wouldn't rule out Jacksonville trying to move up and get a quarterback. And Las Vegas at 12, they could package their 12 and 19 to move up to number 5 and take a quarterback. So I think quarterbacks are going to be the theme. I agree with Russ. I wouldn't touch Jordan Love in the first round, but I do think, by number, who knows? He'll be under 19.5. I know that much. All right, Russell Lande, Ryan Roberts, Rick Serritella, Dakota Fowl here on the Infectious Scouting Podcast, virtuoso style. We'll be here all week long next week, breaking it down. Okay, the next ones I have, guys. I found 2 players that I thought kind of had very split opinions. When you ask, 10 different people, you probably get it right down the middle, 5 and 5. And that's Denzel Mims and Grant Delpit. We'll take them one at a time. I did one offense, one defense. Denzel Mims has been getting a lot of love. Will he be a first-round pick? They're saying very heavily yes, Ryan, at minus 170. No, plus 130. How do you see Denzel Mims coming off the board here?
I think he is going to be in the first rounds. I would not personally do it. I watched him. I didn't get the hype. I understand the physical profile combined with just running 4.38 or whatever he did. Like I get why some people are kind of flocking to him, and he'll at some points in his tape, he'll flash some ability to win through contact. He's got a huge catch radius. I get the appeal. I think he ultimately is going to get selected in the first rounds. I just think it's going to be a pretty heavy mistake, personally.
Yeah, Russ, we talked about the big 3 earlier in the show. Obviously, I think we can all agree Justin Jefferson will be the 4th receiver off the board. I'm not so sure that Mims is better than Jalen Reagor. You could also say that T. Higgins or Brandon Ayuk might go ahead of him. Chenault is in the mix. I'm a little bit surprised here that they feel so strongly Denzel Mims is a first-round guy.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's not that I don't think he's talented enough or deserving of a first-round situation. I think it just comes down to it's the deepest receiver class in possibly 20 years. So how do you guarantee that a guy that most people view as anywhere from the 4th receiver to the 8th receiver, how are you saying he's for sure going to be a first rounder, especially because we all know there's going to be one receiver none of us are talking about that's going to go in the first. It's a guarantee this year with all the guys that are running so fast, no doubt. And then you add in there's always going to be 2 or 3 other players that none of us think are first rounders that are going to pop into the first round. So there's 4 or 5 spots going to players we're not projecting. And then we're going to guess on which of the receivers after these top 3 out of the 10. It's really, really strange to me. It's I like the kid. I understand the debate and the question of him being a first rounder. I just think it's hard to bet on a guy who's not in that guaranteed top 1 or 2 receivers.
Yeah, I'm going to say no here. I don't see it happening. And I think to Russ's point, I could see a guy like Chase Claypool or Donovan Peoples-Jones or, I hate to say it, but, based on the measurables, they can go in round 1. KJ Hamler, you're hearing a guy who has a lot of buzz with his special teams ability. So I'm going to go no on Mims. I was surprised to see that. But to me, Ryan, you mentioned Jordan Love was your favorite prop here. Mine is the next one because to me – unless Vegas knows something we don't know, and Russ, maybe there is something that they're extracting here because I don't understand. They are convinced Grant Delpit is not a first-round pick. And I don't look at too many mock drafts. I think, the guys that I do are floating around on NFL.com, like Daniel Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks, guys like that I might take a glance at. because I know they're connected, and they're not putting Grant Delpit in the first round, Russ. And they're saying that there's a better chance that he won't be a first-round pick, minus 220. So he won't be a first-round pick as opposed to plus 155 that he will be a first-round pick. I spoke to our guy, Von Hutchins, our Southeast regional scout at the NFLPA Bowl. I said, Von, what's going on? He said, people are just looking way into the tackling lack of tackling ability. But, I mean, is there something else that we don't know about on Grant Delpit here?
No, I think it's two things, in my opinion, and you guys tell me if I'm crazy here. I think it's, A, he came in with so much hype into the year that anything he's done that maybe isn't perfect has got people knocking him down. I think the other factor is you have those two small school safeties who tested off the charts that I think there's some teams saying, well, we may like Delpit a little more. We have all three graded very similarly. Maybe we can wait a little bit. Instead of taking Delpit in the top 10 or 15, we can take a gamble he's going to be there at 35 or 40 because of these other guys like Jeremy Chin, who's risen way up draft boards. I still think Delpit's the best safety in the draft. I really fell in love with this kid last year, and I think he had the tackling. Yes, I get it. I understand that. But to me, a safety who can be elite in coverage, that is a rare thing, and I think this kid's got the tools to be that guy. So I understand the concerns, but I still think in the latter part of the first round, somebody's going to roll the dice on this kid.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a very favorable odds here that I would take advantage of, Ryan. Again, I'm just puzzled. I mean, I see Xavier McKinney going off the board consistently over Delpit. I just don't understand it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, so Grant Delpit, similar to Russ, is I think I don't have my final list in front of me, but he was a top 15 rated player, by me as far as film grade. It's troubling. Obviously, this last year, I know there was some speculation with injuries and all this kind of stuff. His previous 2 years, though, 2017, 2018, he was one of the best players in college football. Going into the year, I think I had him rated on a watch list, just preliminary grades, kind of as a top 5, top 10 player in the draft, potentially for this year. And it's something, with the game becoming more and more allocated to creating space, having guys that can match up in the slot in deep zones, different coverage responsibilities, coverage versatility. I think you can't undersell how important a player like him is. And on the other side of everything, I don't think he's going to get picked in the first rounds. I 100% would. I would have no reservations about doing it. But, if we're being betting men here and we're trying to take the best odds and what we think is going to happen, I wouldn't be shocked if no safeties were taken in the first round this year, to be honest.
Interesting. All right. Well, fellas, we got a couple more here. We're going to go rapid fire style. Your answer in 1 or 2 sentences why. It's first round over-unders, position groups. And we have wide receivers at 5.5, which seems a little rich at initial thought. We just broke down how deep it is, Russ. They're favoring it to be over 5.5 wide receivers, over minus 280, under plus 185. That means 6 wide receivers would have to come off the board in round 1. Is that what you're seeing here?
I'm going under on this one. And part of it is I think the depth this year at receiver allows you to pass on a guy you might think is high quality, to get a good guy in the second or third. And the offensive tackle and the defensive tackle depth to me, or not, I shouldn't say depth, but elite players at more important positions, those guys are going to go first. I think you're at 4 or 5 receivers in the first round.
Ryan?
I go under as well. I think the number's 5. I think that is the number that's ultimately going to be taken. Like we said, it's a very deep class for wide receivers, specifically on day 2, second and third round grades. I think there's going to be a record-setting number on the second day, but I think that there's going to be 5 on the first day.
Yeah, I could see that. I like that number 5. I think, after Justin Jefferson, I think there is a drop-off. And I think to Russ's point, teams will wait and see, well, hey, why do I need to – the top 4 or 5 guys are already off the board. Why do I need to reach?
Yeah, do I have to take Mims when I can get Rieger?
Right.
Or vice versa.
Why get the 6th best player at his position when I can get the second or third best player at his position, right? A lot of different angles here in the NFL draft, just 8 days away. Running backs, we talked about there could be none. They're setting the over-under at 1.5. They're saying under minus 650, so at least one running back. Over plus 375. Ryan, to me, I find it hard to believe more than one running back in the first round, yes?
Yeah, pretty easy one for me. Also, I would say it's under. I think the number is 1, like we discussed earlier. I think that we could, maybe you could look at Miami at 26, possibly, but there's just such a need on the offensive line. I feel like they're a offensive tackle or the Ruiz kid from Michigan there at 26. So they're obviously the one that you kind of have your arrow next to, like that might be a landing spot. And then we talked about Kansas City, but Kansas City, that's more of, you're in a good situation. Let's add a weapon like DeAndre Swift. But ultimately, I think that there's only one taken in first.
Russ, you can get pretty good odds over 1.5, but I think it's going to be slim pickings here.
Well, I'm going to buck you guys here, and I'm going over.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and you know what? I look at it and say the place people aren't talking about, New England. This guy's taking 2 running backs in the first round as the head coach. I look at it and think part of the problem, and I'm not saying obviously you're not going to replace Tom Brady with a running back, but since Deion Lewis left, that offense has lost a little bit of flexibility. Yeah. And I think getting a guy who can be a versatile pass catcher that's young would bring in a guy like one of these guys. I think it would add to their offense. I think 2. I really do. I think somehow, some way, someone late in that first is going to jump on a running back.
Okay, interesting. Well, plus 375. That's a pretty good investment if that's the case.
And you're going to go book all to get all these bets in, right? Now that New Jersey has legal betting.
Well, we're on lockdown in Jersey. I don't even think they're open.
Come on, Rick. Jersey Shore, man. You got to have some guy down there.
I know.
Tony, doesn't Tony live down there still?
I know a guy who knows a guy, possibly. All right, last one, fellas, quarterbacks. We've debated it. They're going over under 4. They're just making it a hard, solid 4. They're saying less than 4, probably not, plus 100. Over 4 is actually the favorite here, minus 140. Could a Eason, could a Fromm, could even a Jalen Hurts be that 5th quarterback off the board, Russ?
Nope. I think it's 4. Because I honestly think that the fear of Tua's injury is going to push him down so that some team that right now is saying we may have to take Eason, we may have to do this, we may have to do that, they're going to literally be sitting there and being able to choose between Tua and Fromm at 18 or 19, and that's where I think it's going to happen. So I think it's going to be 4 quarterbacks.
Ryan?
It's a push. I'd say it's 4 as well. That's the number. That is Vegas really set the line hard there. So I would never, ever touch that line in general.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of pushes because, like the receivers was 5.5, the running backs was 1.5. There has to be a winner one way or the other. They're just standing at 4. They're saying, hey, this is the number. And if it's 4, we'll just take the wash. And I think that's pretty smart on their part. And I've been joined by some pretty smart people here. Nobody breaks down more film than these 2 guys, Russell Lande, Ryan Roberts. Of course, myself, Rick Serritella here along for the rodeo show. Shout out to Dak Dakota Follett. He's at Dak Follett on Twitter. Russ is at Russ Lande. Ryan is at Rise and Draft. They're all great follows. They're all putting out great information, so make sure you check them out. Of course, we're at NFL Draft Bible. If you made it this far in the show, we'll hit you with the VIP promo since we only have the PDF available. And if you listen to the entire show, then you must like what we do. So VIP 50.
I see 2 copies right behind you if I want a printed copy. I'm just saying.
Those are the last 2.
Hey, you got to buck up.
Literally. We had to scramble to find those, and I appreciate all the love and support out there. It's been a great year, and so you can go get the download. PDF is available. NFLDraftBible.com. We'll be back next week, each and every day. We're tweaking the schedule. We'll have that out to you soon. We've got a lot of guests lined up: players, scouts, evaluators. A lot of great folks in the football industry. They're going to drop some knowledge on you. I'm just happy to be a part of it. So, Dak, get ready to axe it all off because it's been another can't stop, won't stop edition of the Infectious Scouting Podcast, virtuoso style. And Mom, Samantha, I went easy on the people today. Until the next time, everybody.